Chances are you've seen this screen before, or hopefully this screen. There are lots of different victory conditions in Civilization, including things like the religious victory condition, although if you win that one I'll have to have a word with you after the video. Anyway, there are lots of different victories, but Humankind does it very differently, as you can see on screen. In today's video I'm going to draw on the most significant difference of all between the Civilization franchise and Humankind, and that's how Humankind handles its victories. Let's delve in. So for those of you who don't already know, Civilization 6 handles victories in some very linear, streamlined ways. To win a cultural victory, your tourism score, that is the appeal of your empire, must outweigh the cultural scores of others. Domination victory, indeed, you have to dominate your opponents by capturing every single capital city in the world. And so on and so forth with scientific victories that lead you to Mars, and religious victories where you become dominant across the globe. Humankind, on the other hand, as you can see playing out on screen, handles it in a much different way, with one fundamental mechanic called fame. Here you can see I was the most famous, by around 1,600 points of famous, in fact. But what on earth does that mean, and how does fame work, and why does it matter? And how is fame different to a simple score victory in Civilization? The most embarrassing victories of all. Those of you with a religious victory can feel redeemed. This is how it works, but don't be put off by what's on screen. You can see here one way to earn fame called competitive deeds. These are essentially global firsts, things like discovering writing first, being the first person to navigate the globe. In Civilization 6, we saw these come through not as earnings towards your victory, but rather as era scores. Humankind takes era scores, puts it on steroids, and then presents it as how you win the game. These competitive deeds are only one way to earn fame in Humankind, though there are actually many more, and one way that's much more reliable than those deeds, which can be a little bit random and a little bit pinned to where you're starting, who you're versing, and all those sorts of variables that you can't easily control. Other ways to earn fame towards your victory in Humankind include making moral choices, so some of the events that come up in-game will award fame. There's a really obvious one, and you Domination victory heads will feel right at home with it. It is, of course, winning battles. Victories, military victories will earn you fame, and indeed, conquests will earn you even more. So fame laces in that element from Civilization 6, that Domination victory, by rewarding you for fighting. But it doesn't force you to take every single capital. Indeed, you can be awarded some fame for winning some victories, and then receive the rest of your fame from elsewhere. Where else? Well, there's more. You can also get it for accomplishments. Now, these are a little bit separate to deeds. I mean, sure, linguistically we could consider them to be the same, but these include things like wonders, for example. Claiming a wonder, building a wonder will generate you that sweet, sweet fame, adding more score towards your victory. The most sort of concrete and well-proven way to earn fame in Humankind, however, is through era stars. As you may or may not already know, I've covered it a little bit. There are 6 eras in Humankind, and to progress through them you must earn era stars. These are awarded by doing well in a certain area, but you can earn them across all areas. You can get era stars for military victories within the era, say the Ancient Era. You can earn more era stars, right? You're not just limited to one type. You can earn more for building a certain number of buildings, claiming a certain number of territories. Basically every metric within the game, this includes religion and influence, all of them are tied to a certain pool of era stars that you can earn. These stars, of course, make you famous, right? Just like the Hollywood Boulevard, stars make you famous. Don't forget that. If there's one thing you take away from this video of the most significant and important difference between Civilization and Humankind, it's that stars make you famous. So that's how Humankind handles victory, and we know it's quite different to Civilization 6. Let's reflect now on exactly why that is and why it matters for you and I as Humankind players. So as I said earlier in the video, a fame victory can almost seem like a score victory, and when people ask me to describe it to them in a really simple way, I say it's a score victory, but you can earn score from everything and it's done well. And they sort of scratch their heads and go, oh yeah, that's kind of cool. They don't fully get it, but they sort of vibe with it. And I get that, because the score victory is undoubtedly lame, right? It is lame. But Humankind does it in a better way. And I think the key to it, above all else, is that you don't have to be stuck to a certain play style, right? When you sit down, you're playing Civilization 5 or Civilization 6 or what have you, and you're going through and you sort of don't get a couple of wonders that you need, or you miss out on settling that city. Many players will go, that's it, game over, I've lost my victory condition. Like, I just can't go any further. Others, of course, will be, say, going for a domination victory and then lose a capital. And, it leads to a very linear pathway to victory, where once you've gone down a path, unless you're playing on a really low difficulty or you're really romping your enemies, it's difficult to change it, sometimes nigh on impossible, particularly at those higher difficulty levels like Deity and so on. It almost makes it impossible. Humankind's score victory sort of flips that on its head, though. For example, I start a game, I choose 2 scientific cultures. I go through the eras, scientific culture into scientific culture, I'm loving it. I'm making lots of science, got all my science districts, everything's going great. And then I turn my head to my 2 opponents and they've just out-teched me completely. And I'm like, okay, there is no way I'm going to out-science them. Now, in Humankind, it's not a race to the moon. So I'm not feeling disappointed because I'm not going to beat them to the moon or beat them to establish a Mars colony or whatever it might be. I'm disappointed because they're going to earn more era stars than me in science, okay? That's the key. Them beating me in the tech tree doesn't necessarily mean I lose the game to a scientific loss, because that's not how Humankind works. It works off score. What this allows me to do is then mid-game, even into the late game, completely pivot my strategy and adopt something else. That's one way of thinking about it. The other way is to take it a step further still and consider that I could actually be pursuing what Civilization players would consider to be, quote-unquote, multiple victory pathways as I'm playing. I could be going for the science game, but also going for the religious game, and earning era stars and fame through both of those avenues. I could ignore those traditional pathways altogether and just simply decide that I want to be the person who completes all the competitive deeds. And so I completely focus on exploration and discovery rather than following one of those traditional science, culture, influence, whatever it may be, pathways. You can see there's a lot more to unpack here, and I'm not going to do it all in this video, but I hope that you can sort of understand how Humankind's fame, dare I say, score victory, is much more flexible and open than Civilization 6's, and I think that'll do Humankind a great justice moving forward. Thank you very much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, why not leave a like rating, and I'll see you next time.